It's Erin Brenhouse from the Wildflowers Creative Team, and today we're going to do a Sad Eyes detail art demo. Let's jump right in. Okay, everyone, let's get started. We're going to be using for our background a combination of two of our newest colors. This is Moto Moto. This is like a grayish purple, and we're going to be using Antique, which is our new sheer white. This one is such a gem. We are going to use this to create almost like an ombre background for our detailed eye. We are making an eye with eyelashes, like a nice eyeball. We're going to try to make it realistic and detailed, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So begin with 2 coats of Moto Moto. We are going to create something that I see kind of trending all over the place, so I figured I would try it. It are these like ombre fades, but it's white in the center and it's fading to color on the perimeter of the nail. So if that doesn't make sense, you'll see as we keep on going. But start with 2 coats of Moto Moto. Here's our first. It's super beautiful color. We're going to pop that in the lamp for 30 seconds. Now let's go in with a second coat of Moto Moto. These gel polishes are coming really soon, guys. Wildflowers is releasing 48 new colors. We have amazing colors on the way, and we just wanted to show you guys some of them as a little teaser. So there's the second coat, super rich coverage, 30-second cure. Okay, now we're going to create this special ombre effect towards the center of the nail being more white, fading out to Moto Moto color. So the way to do that is we have to actually put a really thin layer of Antique down. So as you can see, check this out. This is a really amazing milky white, sheer white new gel polish that's coming out. So it's super gorgeous. I love it. So we're going to take a thin layer and apply that over Moto Moto, but we're going to do it really thin because we don't want it to really change the color on the perimeter too much. So we're just going to make sure that we have gel everywhere so that the ombre is more even because it will spread gradually into the surrounding gel. I hope that makes sense. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our magenta brush to have as like a backup tool. We might use it. We might not. I will show you now what we're going to do with the slick layer is we're going to take a nice glob on our gel polish brush on Antique, and we're going to lay it vertically down the center of the nail. Like so. And you're going to take, you could either wait until it moves around, or you could take your magenta brush and start to tap it out. It's going to start to spread into the slick layer that we've already laid down. And we'll just, as that's moving, we'll switch to the other side and do the same thing. Just tapping the sides of Antique into the slick layer that we've spread earlier that we did not cure. Okay, and now we just do the same at the top and the bottom, dragging Antique a little further down in the center, and then flipping it over and doing the same at the other side. And bringing it a little bit, tapping it towards the cuticle. Not all the way, but just tapping out that gel. I'm using the lightest touch with my hands. But you see that that cool ombre effect is starting to take effect. It's starting to come to life. So I'm just moving this over a little bit more. I found that it was a little off center. So I'm just dragging the wet gel. The blob is still there. It's a pretty thick viscosity gel polish, so it doesn't move too quick unless you tap it around. So I'm just doing that, and it really creates a gorgeous background for our eyeball. So let's go ahead and give that a full 60-second cure. Now, if you'd like to smooth it out even more, you can do another thin layer of Antique if you're a perfectionist, just to smooth out the gradient and to make it even more seamless. You can also skip this step if you like. If you're a time saver, sorry, I was out of frame. If you're more interested in saving time at this point, absolutely skip this step. But I'm just putting a thin layer to even out my ombre, and I'm going to give it a 30-second cure. Okay, our next step before we start doing our intricate detailed eyeball is to put a layer of matte top coat. I always love to use the Wildflowers matte top coat as a surface for detail work, for painting. Even if it's abstract, it sometimes just gives more control and spreads the gel in a really nice way. I just like it as a really smooth canvas. So we're going to go ahead and matte our nail. Make sure we don't have any fuzz and give it a 30-second cure. Now we're going to switch over to the Wildflowers Black Artist Gel Paint and the magenta brush. You can use the regular magenta brush or this one, which is from the Vegan collection. I prefer this one lately. I just love the sturdiness of the bristles. They're synthetic. No animals were hurt in the making of these brushes, which I just love. And that's what we're going to do. So let's get our nail out and start making our eyeball. Now, I highly recommend that you do not necessarily copy my steps step by step. I recommend that you find a picture of an eyeball that you like. Hold on, I'm going to turn the camera around to show you guys if I can. Oh, I don't even need to. It's true. It's facing the right direction. So here is my inspo. Okay, sorry, that's not focused. There we go. So I have this on the Pinterest board. I'm going to be using this eyeball as my inspiration and as my guide. So I highly recommend finding a picture of an eye that you really like that you want to use. So let's start with our magenta brush and our Black Artist Gel Paint, and we're just going to create the general shape of the eye, which is a beautiful almond. So we do our top line, make sure they're going down to about the same spot. And now we're going to do the bottom. Okay. Once that's done, you can go ahead and draw in your iris. It's a little bit off center, more towards the inner corner of the eye. Like that. You see how it's a little bit more to this side. And this is just like a rough draft. We're going to add so many details, so it doesn't have to be too perfect, but because this is detail art, you want to be careful and make sure that your guide is the way you like it. So I've created the pupil as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and cure that because I'm really happy with this, and we don't want to mess it up as we keep going later. All right, now we're going to go ahead and create the lower lash line. So it's parallel to the bottom line. It starts in the corner, but works its way out. And I'm using a really light touch to just like make a hint of it. And now we're going to do a similar line parallel on the top, but this is more like the crease. And we want it to start right about here and to follow the shape of the eye. We're going to go ahead and cure that. All right. Now what we're going to do is start to create some darkness inside her eye because of the shadows. So we're just going to add some Black Artist Gel Paint to the top. Like that. And we're going to take our green brush from the Vegan collection, which is our blending brush. It's really an awesome brush for blending. And we're going to go in and tap it where the wet gel is. Just tap, 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 tap. It's going to create a beautiful blend, like a shadow in the top area of her eye. Okay. And at the same time, we could start to create a few of her longer eyelashes. So we'll switch back to our magenta brush. And eyelashes could easily go rogue. I had to restart this earlier because I was so unhappy with how I did too many eyelashes and it just completely overtook the eye. So let's try to find like a good one to, let's say like 6 main lashes, and then we're going to fill them in with little guys. So we're going to do a long flick for her corner lash. And then we'll move over a little bit and do a nice another long flick for another long lash. This one's going to curl almost this way because we are trying to mimic a natural eyeball, a natural eye, and they have eyelashes that go rogue. So some are crossing over like that. We got one coming up here and one over there. That's good for me. Now we'll make a few on the bottom, and the bottom lashes are a lot shorter. So we're going in and making little commas. And you can even create some space in between. Do them a little lower. A little space over there. Makes it look more natural. Maybe give her a few in the middle here. Okay, so let's cure that, and then we're going to add some little lashes in between these big guys. Okay, now for some of her little lashes on top, I'm going to go in and just start to give little flicks. I'm putting gel on my brush only when I feel it start to like resist. We don't want too much. Work our way slowly. Take a look at the composition of the nail. Make a few more going that way. Filling some of the gaps. These are a bit long up here, but that's okay. Let's make a few other just to match. Super cool. All right, let's pop that in the light for a cure. All right, this is starting to come together. Now we want to create some details inside the eyeball. So it's almost like creating a sun. You're going to make little lines coming out of your iris, little tiny rays of sun. All the way around. And we're going to make like even smaller ones in between. Almost like little scratches of nothingness. Just a hint of a shadow of a jawline. Really not much. Starting to really get some detail there. Now we're almost going to make like a row of where these lines are a little darker. In a row of little flicks going around the pupil. And this is where the color of the eye would be, you know, different. The beauty of the eyeball is in the color. And since we're doing a black and gray and white design, we have to create that with shadows and dimension and depth. So I'm just going to take my green brush, making sure that there's no black gel on it first. So I'm going to, see, we had some black gel from when we earlier tapped it out. So I'm going to go in now where I just worked, and I'm gently, like, I'm really just using the corner of my brush to just gently tap the lines that I just did, creating some darkness in here. And now our last step is really to like re-outline where we want the lines to be thicker, sharper, blacker. So you can cure now if you want, you could flash it. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to re-outline the actual iris of the eye. I hope that's the right word for this part of the eye. So I'm going to re-outline it, because that's also where she has the beautiful color of her eye. So we just want to gently re-outline what we've already created, making a nice thick line. Well, thicker than what we had before. Okay. And let's just gently reline a little bit of our lash line. And we're going to go in and reline that. I'm just gradually going through all the areas that we started with and just tracing over them to create a really gorgeous look. All right, I'm going to pop that in the light before I smush it with my hand. Okie dokie, let's just create a hint of a shadow under her eye, because that's what's in the drawing. And then we can top coat this one. So I'm just going to go and create almost like an under eye. But don't worry, we're not going to keep her like that. We're going to make most of that line disappear now. We're just going to have a shadow there. So again, I'm going in with my green brush. And when you feel like you have too much on your brush, wipe it off, because you want to work with a dry brush technique for the shading. And I'm just tapping it out, leaving just a hint of gel behind. I'm almost like rubbing it off. Okay. Looking cool. Now, one last step is I saw another image in my Pinterest, in our Pinterest board for detail art, and I was like, let's put that together with the eye that I had drawn now. So we're going to make a little tear. This poor girl is going to be crying. So we just want to keep going all out with the detail. So with the tear, we really want it to make it look watery. So she has a little bit of water collecting here. And it's starting to kind of leak down. To a drop. Just like a big raindrop shape. Just draw it in. Sorry if I was out of frame there. And it's the shape of our teardrop is just like that, but tears are not black. So we want to create an illusion of that being a tear. So again, I'm going in with my black brush and I'm gonna turn it over so that I could shadow the inside of the part of the tear that's coming straight out of her eye to soften that up, give it some depth. And then I'm gonna go in and kind of almost remove this line. You see how I just kind of smushed it? So I'm even gonna go in with some isopropyl alcohol on my brush. I put a little bit on my brush. I'm gonna take off the excess and I wanna remove that blob that I just did by accident. There we go. I've moved it back to the center. Wipe off my brush again so that it's dry. And now we're going to pull and tap some of the black from the inside of the tear towards the center of the tear. And we can go back up and soften that one as well. Softening that line. We really want to remove as much as we can from that line that's going down. It has to just look like almost like a hint of a tear, like this is too dark. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to wiggle my brush, wiggle, 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 and it's going to take some of that away. Softening it even more. That makes me happy. I like that better. I'm going to just fix that a little bit. I feel like it needs to be a hint of rounder. A little bit rounder. Like it's pooling, you know, like the way the teardrops always just tend to like pool before they leak out of the eye. So I'm going to go back in, flip it over again, and just tap that line inwards so it doesn't seem so harsh of a black line. There we go. Starting to really look realistic. This poor girl, she's so sad. All right, let's cure that for 30 seconds. Now I'm going to finish this up with matte top coat, and we can try and see if maybe we want to leave the teardrop wet. But let's start with the matte background and then we will decide. So I'm going to use the Wildflowers matte top coat, of course. And we're going to seal this guy in. This lady, this lovely eyeball. Make sure it's covered nicely. Smoothing out our image. And cure for 30 seconds. For our last step, to make a wet tear, grab your top coat gel. I'm just going to put some on our palette. You don't need very much. And then you're going to take your, magenta brush. Let me make sure that it's clean. And here we are matte. We're going to dip into the top coat gel. I just got a little glob on my brush. I'm going to lay the glob right down in my tear. Depositing it down. And then I'm going to pull upwards into the juicy tear that's forming. Leaving that line of light. You see that it's wet there. And we're going to do the same thing. Get another little glob of gel polish, top coat gel, and get it in her little tear that's forming up there. And you see I dragged it a little bit into her lash line. And there we go. Now we just need to cure that again for 30 seconds. Here's the finished look, you guys. I hope you like this design and you find it super detailed and something you want to try. Make sure to go find an eye picture of an eye that you like, or an image of an eye that you like, a painting, whatever you like, so that you have a reference point to look at. And use our hashtag if you guys reproduce this or do any detail art yourself. Hashtag WF Detail. And we'll see you next week. Bye.